What's up? Welcome into the Orange Zone podcast. A reminder, you can find every episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. We are your place for all things Syracuse Orange. You can also find every episode on our CNY Central YouTube page if you are watching on the YouTube. What's up from the Sky Camp? How are you? New episodes are released weekly. We invite you to like, subscribe, and comment and subscribe for more Orange Zone content. We appreciate everyone out there. Shout out Orange Chuck. Shout out Cuse Waterboy, two of our biggest listeners right now. I know Cuse Waterboy is probably in his big rig right now, doing some trip up to Watertown or something. So happy to have them always listening with us, and as well as the rest of this fan base. And I'm Tommy Sladek. This is Samantha Croston. We have Brendan Hodges on the producer mic, and Sam is back from a long birthday weekend, the big 2-5. How you feeling?
The big 2-5, like I had a quarter-life crisis, but I'm back and I'm ready to go. No, it was great. It was good to be home. Took a step away, went to Long Island for a little bit, saw some family. I think you know this, but I have a cousin who has the exact same birthday as me, but she's 2 years
adorable.
old. She's so cute. So I got to be around some babies. I got to be around some old people. Like, what else could you ask for? It's like the perfect combination. It was a very good, wholesome weekend.
You're just squeezed right in the middle there at 25. You feel different? I know we talked about this a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, as you had said previously, I do feel like 25 is the first age where I did feel it a little bit. I don't normally think about age, and I was kind of like, wow, that's different. That feels like something, but I'm ready to learn from the previous experiences and have some new experiences now in the 25 plus range.
Heck yeah.
I always have believed I'm going to live to 100. So to me, that's one of my big goals. So it's 25 down, 75 to go as far as I'm concerned.
I love that. My goal is to hit 2100 or the year 2100. I think that I'd be 106, but I think I can do it.
Maybe. Honestly, I think if anybody could do it, it would be you. And you have to imagine that as we get older, the advancements, people will be living longer. But I'll have you know that if you live to 100, you get a letter from the president, which at that time probably will be like a woman, something really cool.
Right.
So
it's probably an e-signature too.
Right?
Yeah.
Either way, I'm really looking forward to it, and I do plan on seeing that through.
Cool. Right on. See you in 2100.
All right. See you then.
All right. Well, what we got in store for today is it's a great time for, not great time, but I should say important time for Syracuse Lacrosse. We'll get into the SU women as they start the ACC tournament this week. And ultimately, it's going to be less on what the specifics games are, because we will have Virginia Tech happening the day that this gets released. It's more so going to be how this is going to impact their NCAA tournament and what we're ultimately looking for from them. Syracuse men's lacrosse needs to beat Duke, their final game of the season, honestly, to get a bid into this tournament. We'll hit on that. And then we'll bounce off what we had last week, which was a great episode with Hodges and I, where we talked about this NFL draft and the mock drafts and ultimately what could be the first year in nearly 20 years where Syracuse football has had 4 guys getting picked. So exciting times. We have updates on Sean Tucker, as well as just a few more mocks that have come in here in the last week. So, Sam, let's start with the ACC tournament for the women. The men don't have that. ACC, very small conference on that side of things. Syracuse ultimately lost to Boston College, 17-16. Heartbreaking fashion. They moved to number 2 in the polls. And now they're getting ready to take on Virginia Tech, a team they beat 16-5 earlier in the season. What have you absorbed here over the last few days, I guess basically since last Thursday?
Right. I mean, so when I was on Long Island, I made sure that I watched this game. This was one that I wanted to see play out, what was going to happen. But it was weird because I wasn't watching the entire thing. I was watching some of the first half, and I caught like the last 2 minutes, and I could not believe it. Like, I could not believe that Boston College made a comeback in that fashion, because I feel like that's what we've been saying kind of the whole year is once you get into the danger zone with this team, the Syracuse women's lacrosse team, and you're down by 4, 5, 6 goals, it's going to be too hard to come back.
Right.
And this time around, that wasn't the case. So I think that was nerve-wracking for some people. I know some people lost a little bit of faith and hope, but as you might remember,
you called this.
I did say that I had a bad feeling about this 1 week ago. I have no idea why, but I have a bad feeling, which I haven't had the whole year. I have no idea why. It's just a feeling. So I'm hoping that it goes away.
Can you elaborate on that feeling, or is it nothing more than a feeling?
I don't know why I have a feeling.
Does it feel
like
trappy because North Carolina was ultimately a bigger story?
It feels like, well, there's a lot of history here with Boston College in the last national championship game that Syracuse was in. they lost it to BC and Charlotte North and company. So I always think this is a big game. And Boston College isn't even ranked as high as they're normally ranked. Maybe that's why I have a bad feeling, is because they're not the powerhouse that they've previously been. And I don't know, maybe it is a trap situation. Like I said, I'm hoping I'm wrong. But for some reason, my prediction this time around is either like a win by 6 or 7 goals or a loss that we were not expecting.
So that was Sam calling it, basically.
I had a bad feeling, but I actually thought it would be a good thing if they lost this time around. I had a bad feeling about that game, but I didn't think that that would be a bad experience. It is very, very difficult to win every single game throughout the course of an entire season, especially when you're playing certain opponents 2 or 3 times. I would so much rather them have that experience of losing on a new field. Like I granted there were some changes and some things that were different, and feel what it feels like to be in that situation in a game that, quite honestly, doesn't matter a ton. It's a bummer that they became the 2 seed because of that game. I honestly almost couldn't believe it. Like, the math wasn't mathing for me for some reason on that, but I do see and I understand it now. But I just don't view it as some horrible thing. I view it as a loss that they can now learn and grow from. And we'll see what happens now in the ACC tournament, which, again, not to say that it's not important, but to me, it just feels like more of a learning and growing experience, because we all know at the end of the day what they want and what's important here.
Completely agree. And I think other than if they, for whatever reason, lose to Virginia Tech in some, like by 5 goals, I just don't see there being too much change in where they end up landing come tournament time. Because, again, they went 15-1 and arguably probably the toughest strength of schedule in the country. And again, you kind of have 2 sides. I would have loved to have an undefeated season.
Sure.
I think everyone would. I think that just it looks cooler. It sounds cooler. It is cooler. But you're right. Long term, was this the best thing to happen to them? And ultimately, I still respect the fact that they went and played this game outside. It ended up being a beautiful night. But who's to say that different environment didn't impact it? So to kind of have that ready to go and be good to go come the NCAA tournament time, because that's what really matters at the end of the day here, I thought that was a big deal. So it's number 2 Syracuse, number 7 Virginia Tech, 4 o'clock happening Wednesday. BC gets that number 1 seed because, which I didn't even realize, that they were 6-1 coming in. Syracuse was 7-0. It's kind of ridiculous that they ended up in the 2nd seed, but they did. And ultimately, what are you looking to see from them in the ACC tournament as you look ahead to the NCAA?
I'm looking to see some more second half adjustments. I felt like there was definitely a breakdown in the second half there.
It was the same play multiple times there in the 4th quarter. Not sure if you noticed that. Kayla Traynor, I mean, she even acknowledged it right after the game, that she's like, we didn't catch this quick enough.
And I think there is, so a part of that is Coach Traynor being able to take timeouts at certain times and being able to tell people these are the adjustments that you have to make. But another part of that is actually making those adjustments. And Coach Traynor can't do that for the rest of the team. I will say that I noticed in the timeout that was called when BC went up by the winning goal, and there was still time left, they were showing shots of all of the players' faces from Syracuse in that timeout, and I knew then and there that the game was over. Like, I could tell, like, there was fear in these players' eyes. And honestly, that last minute and 20 seconds of play, or however much time there was when they came out of that last timeout, there was time to make a defensive stop and go down and score that goal. There was time to do that. And I was disappointed by the effort that was put forth in that last minute and 20 seconds. So I think there was also an effort component there of understanding that the game truly is not over until it's over. So I'm looking to see that. I think that Delaney Schweitzer could have made a couple more saves in the second half. I think that my hard hat for the year might even go to Olivia Adamson so far. I don't think people are realizing how much of an impact that her role on the draw circle has played, especially since Kate Mashesky went down. So I would say that was a positive, and congratulations to Megan Tyrell. So I'm definitely looking to see more of the Tyrell sisters. But really, I mean, I thought the offense has done well, as they did all year long. I think it was really just a matter of some defensive adjustments. And again, that mentality of just being comfortable in a situation where you're down by 1 or 2 goals and knowing that you can come back from that. They looked a little bit out of their element towards the end of that game. A little fearful, I might say.
A little bit more playing not to lose and playing to kind of keep doing their thing once they were up 12-6 at that point. So it was definitely a little bit of a different vibe, but also credit to Boston College. Like they had the right game plan in that fourth quarter and just dominated it. So there's a reason why they're a top 5 team. And ultimately we ended up seeing that, and something that the Syracuse team can learn from. But yeah, Adamson was great. Was she the one that had the behind the back? Because that was phenomenal.
Was she? I'm not sure. Brendan, you got it? I didn't see that one.
I could not tell you.
I want to
all
say
I'll
it was
say
her.
is-
It was a great play, and also, yeah, go ahead.
No, and really, there was a lot of great things to take away from that game. But 12-6, and then they come back and win. That shouldn't happen.
No,
That shouldn't
hurts.
happen. That hurts.
Yeah.
So again, it's also sometimes just a matter of stopping the momentum. Like you have to figure out somewhere along the lines there, 2, 3, 4 goals are scoring. Okay, we need to seriously shake some things up and try and, prevent this from continuing to happen.
Yeah,
So we'll see.
defensively, they clearly made some adjustments too, because it would just, at the end of the day, the offense wasn't scoring by the time this thing finished up. But ultimately, I think they're in great shape. It's fine, and hopefully, it's just one of those things where you can learn from. Win a few games here in the ACC. It's not one of those where I'm not like, I need to see them win the whole thing, but get back in your groove, get comfortable, blow a team out or two, and then get ready for May. Going on to the men's side, these guys dropped 3 spots to number 15 in the media poll after losing 19-12 to number 3 Virginia this past weekend. And this one, I think, going into these last 2 games, if you asked most fans, which of the two do you think they have a better shot at pulling off the upset? I think 95, if not 99%, would say Duke.
And why is that?
Because I think people bounced off of the game earlier in this season, where it ended up being, what wasn't it, OT? I believe it was OT.
14-13 loss.
Overtime, 14-13 loss. And it's been in past years, Gary Gates teams have played Duke well.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, right on paper, it stood out there. And then Virginia, coach's name, I'm blanking on it. Lars something.
Is it Lars Tiffany?
Yes, Lars Tiffany.
Okay.
Because he's a Lafayette guy. He was a Lancer. Grew up right there, playing with the Onondaga Nation. He normally, when he gets up on the podium, when they make the Final Four or whatnot, he's always giving a shout out to the Onondaga Nation, just like learning the game of lacrosse here. So really impressive coach, and I think ultimately he's had Syracuse's number over the years. And this team was just it was. Hodges, what did you take away from it? And would you agree with that assessment that you expected Duke more than Virginia coming in?
I'm not gonna about the game itself. I'm not gonna lie. I was actually calling a women's lacrosse game down in Hamilton, so I didn't get a chance to watch
Shout
a
out
lot
Gate.
of this. They won.
Shout
this,
out Colgate.
They beat American in overtime. It was a great game.
Go Raiders.
I will say I agree that I was picking SU to probably beat Duke more so than Virginia because of what you said. Like it may be recency bias, but like they've played Duke close this year. Overtime loss, held a couple of 4-goal leads in that game. And I just felt like, hey, if there was a chance to win one of these last 2 games against 2 top 3 teams, which in my opinion shouldn't affect the way they are seeing going into a potential postseason berth, it would be Duke because they've played them tight as a recent history. And Virginia is stacked with talent.
Yeah.
And all the ACC teams are. But Virginia, more so than many of the others, is stacked with guys who just make play after play after play.
And they had a slow start. I think it was 6-1 at one point, 6-0. It really just was one of those from when I was watching. It just felt over from the jump, and that's tough to see. Not like they didn't have some great moments. They did, but it was ultimately they just some of the stuff that I thought that they cleaned up in the past few games started to kind of show its face again. There was definitely some miscommunication on defense. I saw a few plays, where basically a shooter was wide open. And so I think it's stuff that's going to be fixed, and they understand what's on the line. And I absolutely think they can get it done because it's it's on Wednesday, noon start. Didn't even realize that it was a noon start. Appreciate that. So by the time you're listening to this, that game's probably underway. So hopefully they get it done because I think that's the way they get into this thing because there's no ACC tournament for them to win.
And that was the point I was going to bring up. That is critical. There is no automatic qualifier coming out of the ACC, which is kind of astonishing when you really think about it. They should really figure out a way to either add another team or something so that there can be an automatic qualifier because that is a little disappointing to know that there's not another way to get in besides being in the rankings and the RPIs and all the things that they consider. But I do agree that I think this is going to be a close game against Duke, especially because everybody on Syracuse knows this is for all the marbles, baby. Like, this is what you
And
need.
Duke's in.
Right.
You feel me?
100%. I mean, you have to win this game to have any kind of a shot. And in a way, it is almost lucky because it is such a highly ranked team that it
Yeah.
really could kind of boost you in if you do win this game. But, a couple of things that Brendan put here that are sticking out to me. In that first match, Duke put up 66 shots against the Orange, the highest total of any of SU's opponents so far this season. They also won the face-off battle 21-9.
Yeah, that ain't great, folks. Not great, Bob.
So those are the things that you're looking at. The face-off. I mean, Will Mark actually played great that game, 22 saves. Pretty astonishing. But still, that's not going to be enough. You're going to need to put up more shots against this Duke team. You're going to have to work harder on the face-off. And as you said, just that team, that collective effort that we have seen a couple of times throughout the season, but we have not seen it consistently. So it is sort of hard to know what to expect from this team.
Yeah. Ultimately, they need to get it done. So we'll see which team shows up.
This is critical.
Let's see it
I will
happen.
say, Tommy, there is a bit of a typo there. It is Saturday the 29th. The date there is right. It is a Saturday, though.
Okay, I feel so much better about that because I was like, hold on, Wednesday at noon. So let's correct that. Game is Saturday at noon because I was looking at the 29th. I'm like, man, that really went fast. Game is at noon Saturday, ESPNU. So I'm enjoying. I got to say, I do love. I get sad when basketball ends, but I love it because ESPNU just frees up and it's just LAX City on the weekends.
LAX
it's great.
City.
It's
going to
great.
be exciting.
I can't wait. Let's finish up with some NFL draft talk. We also have Brendan's trivia. It's a three-parter today, so this thing's a three-headed beast. I'm excited for it. Let's get into the update since we last spoke about the draft, and that is Sean Tucker had his personal own pro day on Monday. Again, this was 3 days before that this draft is starting on Thursday. Ultimately, he was not medically cleared to compete in the original combine in Indianapolis. A recheck, which I didn't know they were allowed to do, allowed this to happen. Now, the secrecy around what this injury is so tight-lipped. I've never really experienced anything like it.
It is confusing.
To where I see, I think I mentioned this last week, where the Mel Kipers of the world are completely out of the loop as to where he could land because they are so they know so little information as to what this is. Like, you see high as fourth round, you see undrafted. There's a lot at play here. But ultimately, what does that recheck tell you? I don't know. But for something all of a sudden to get the check mark is really interesting to me. And he didn't compete in the 40, which I was a little bit bummed about.
Yeah.
That would have been nice
same.
because he ran track, and it would have just been awesome to have a number down on it. Vertical leap 38th, tied for third among running backs at the NFL Combine. Dude's got hops. The bench press. Let's talk about this bench press for a second.
Woo!
Sean Tucker's 209 pounds. He put up 225. So if you've ever been in the gym, that's 245 plates on each side in the bar. So that's a 45-pound bar and then 90 pounds each side. 225, 29 times. It's known to be, if you can bench your body weight, just a few times, that's known to be just a general standard of that's a person with good strength. To do it 29 times at the running back position is really unbelievable.
It's astonishing. Mm-hmm. And not to call either of you guys out, but I do feel like I just need more information to kind of put this into perspective. Like, How many times do you guys think you could throw up 225?
I can tell you what my bench max was in college.
Hit us with it.
It's like 255, and that was
for
a
one
3-rep max that we would do. I want to say 255 ended up being my 1-rep max, though, out of that 3-rep thing. But also, by the way, bench doesn't matter for his position. Let me just be real with that. I really don't think it does.
I disagree, just because if you're trying to show who you are as a pass blocker, I think you're going to want that motion of sticking out. I think requires there to be obviously strength in the lower body,
but
also
strength in legs even with that too. You look at a power clean,
for sure.
You think it's all arms, but when you're cleaning, you are helping lift a guy off the ground. So it's more that motion than the actual bench, which is picking yourself up after you get knocked down.
But does that not also signify a strong bench from a running back? Does that signify someone that's a block of muscle? Someone that is this situation is a little bit more unique with Sean, but a little bit less injury prone. Someone that can bounce, be like defenders bounce
That
off of him as he takes hits.
I agree with. I don't see it as important in the actual what he's going to be doing in terms of running with the ball, catching the ball, maybe pass blocking.
I think the injury prone thing is critical, actually.
Again, there's a reason why some people just don't even participate in the bench presses because, again, it's not, no one's looking at it and being like, that's going to make or break anything. But to me, it just shows how strong this dude is. And as a running back,
if nothing else,
you want strong.
He's a strong dude.
225 is basically my max. I don't even think I'm not really max benching anymore, but 225, maybe 235 was like for one or two. For one or two.
29 is astonishing.
It is. And it shows to us, I think, just what type of athlete this is and how hard he's been working this offseason to be able to put up those numbers and have stuff that sticks out along with just who he is as a person. Now, we're hearing that the Cardinals, Bills, Jets, and Giants were on hand. Would this number have been way higher earlier in the spring? Yeah, definitely. That, to me, is more so Cardinals are clearly really interested in him, or there's something that they needed to see to get a better feel. So put the Cardinals down as a total possibility of drafting Sean. Bills, Jets, Giants, to me, is more so just location-wise, we can get there in time.
I agree with that. Where
Yeah.
do you guys envision that he could end up, or where would you like to see him?
Sure. Go ahead, Brendan.
I mentioned this last week, and I really think I said third to fourth in the article that we put up.
Yeah.
But that's like best case scenario for him. I think it's more so later rounds to undrafted. And I only say that because teams are getting into him so late and getting to see him so late that their boards are already set. You're not necessarily going to put a guy above these people that you've seen over and over and over again and didn't necessarily have a medical issue that you don't know what it is.
Well, they do, I believe, right?
You would think they do.
They definitely, there's
Because
definitely that
they
communication
pay guys
there.
thousands upon, probably tens of thousands of dollars to look into this sort of thing and be like, hey, what do you know? What are you seeing with this guy? What do you know? Because you're the guy that we trust to know everything about every one of these guys that we have on this large board that's sitting in our draft room.
Well, let me ask a follow-up question here. Are they always this tight-lipped about injuries, or is this kind of a unique situation?
Unique, in my opinion.
Unique, yeah.
This is because normally stuff like as stuff slips out in the NFL left and right. And so, and sometimes it's.
And what you're saying is none of the insiders even really understand what's going on
And
here.
I think a part of that is because during the season and what we've seen over those last 2 years is when he has those moments where he's banged up, he's on the ground, face down, and he gets up. He's kind of doing this motion. He kind of has his hands like around his chest, around his ribs, and then he goes back in. I've never seen anything
always
like
goes
that.
back in.
But never was it addressed as to what those moments are. Normally, in college football teams let that those things are released. So because of, I think, the secrecy of it when he was playing has carried over to the NFL. And if whatever it is deemed to be not an issue, then I think he's going 4th round. I think he's going 5th round, best case scenario. But if whatever it is a possible problem, I almost want to lock him in as an undrafted free agent.
It'd be beneficial for him, too. I mean, it may
because
not,
he would have that pick of his team.
He'd have that pick of team. It may not sound like it because you're not getting your name out there. You're not getting picked by a team. But if you get to pick the team you go to, you're not going to a team who you may get hundreds of carries and get hit hundreds of times with no value, and you don't increase your value because of statistics, because of what you've done in the league.
Right.
You pick your team. You pick a team with a good offensive line, a solid quarterback that maybe carries the ball too. I mentioned Baltimore last week, 20 minutes away from home for Sean Tucker.
Yeah, I'd love to see him as a
Mobile
Raven.
quarterback, great offensive line. Could you imagine how effective he would be in that offense? And I know that he has injury issues. All the Ravens running backs have had injury issues. But it'd be a great story, and I think it'd be a great fit. And obviously, I'm no expert. It's just saying, if you have your pick of teams, you can think about that. If you don't, you are at the mercy of whoever calls you up on the phone and says, hey, Sean, this is blah, blah, blah from whatever team.
Sure.
Hop on a plane. You're coming to insert city here.
Right. But at the end of the day, I think that's also a little bit of security, right? You know that this team liked you enough to put a pick on you. So you do have that bit of, I think it adds a layer of trust, right? As to coming in undrafted, you're fighting with a lot of undrafted free agents that are coming in trying to make a spot on this roster.
The dollar amount they sign you to, though, shows you how much they trust you in terms of UDFAs. In some cases.
Yeah. And ultimately, if it doesn't work out at the spot that he is drafted, it's like, unless there's something really wrong here, I find it hard to believe that this guy's not at least on a practice squad next year. I really don't see it not being the case if whatever he's dealing with can be worked through. So let's move on from Sean. Again, this data that we have here from Brendan is from NFL.com, ESPN, CBS Sports, and The Athletic. We also have Matthew Bergeron to talk about. We have Garrett Williams, and we have Mikel Jones. Now, Devon Cooper, I believe, signs with someone. I also think Andre Schmidt signs with someone, but it's Jones, Williams, Bergeron, Tucker that we're looking at here. And with Bergeron, O-lineman has been just a player for Syracuse since he came in here as a freshman, and he's picked in all of these mocks mid-second to late third round. 2 of these mocks have him going to the Chicago Bears. Actually, the 5th one that we have here
Pro Football
is
Focus.
Bergeron. Pro Football Focus is also having Bergeron going second round 53 to Chicago, and it makes sense because Bergeron is a dude that can be very mobile, good run blocker. And that's why last week, Sam, we talked about how it makes sense for him to be in a Buffalo, in a Chicago where you have a Justin Fields, a Josh Allen, and a mobile quarterback. And so it makes sense that Chicago is at the top of the list here. And we'd love to see him go second round. Great dude, kid from Quebec. And I know you would love to see him go to the Bills. We were joking about that you would love to see all of these guys go to the Bills.
Right? Any Syracuse guy go to the Bills. Yeah, no, the Bills have my heart. And I definitely agree. I think it'd be interesting to see him end up in those places. Did you guys both agree that that's kind of where you see him?
One of those, I think, with a team that has a mobile quarterback.
I have them down. I didn't say this last week, but I hope the Bears take Peter Skoronski at 9 so the Eagles can get him in the second round. That'd be fun.
That'd be great, actually. I would love to see him be a bird. Garrett Williams, tore his ACL. Missed basically that back half of the season. Tough to watch. And ultimately, I find it to be very exciting to see him on Pro Football Focus going in the third round. That shows you how much we've come along with ACL injuries in the recovery time. And not only that, but this was an injury that not too long ago could have ended a career.
Well, that was the question on my mind. Like how much or how little do you think this impacts things?
I think ultimately, not as much. Why
is that? Like, what's changed over the years?
I think it's the knowledge of it. The rehab is so much more fine-tuned that allows for a quicker recovery. Just the whole approach to it, I believe, has changed and has been perfected. And I just watched a video that was shared by Ian Rappaport this week. And it was something that Garrett's dad or Gio or Garrett himself sent to him. And it's him doing cone drills.
I saw that.
I'm like, this is amazing.
It was
been
amazing.
6 months.
Yeah.
And I think, no ACL injury. I'm thinking probably second round, maybe late first. But ultimately, I would see him snugging right in there in the second round. To see him going in the third, and then in some of these in the fourth, I know I saw 6th on there. I just think that's amazing. And I'm happy for Garrett that he's able to ultimately make the most of what was a crappy situation and still possibly end up in a great spot.
I think really my last question here as we kind of inch closer to all this is, if you guys had to guess right now, how many of these guys are going to get drafted? How many would you say?
Interesting
3.
question.
I'm still bullish that Mikel Jones may just fall out. I mean, only being in one of those 5 mocks. And I understand there are a lot of mocks out there, and none of them are going to be right. but I just don't think linebacker is valued as much in the NFL when you can put a certain type of safety into the box or even a nickel corner in there. You just don't see many linebackers, prototypical linebackers out there. Now, Mike Hill is not a prototypical linebacker.
No.
He is a side-to-side Matt Milano, Terrell Edmonds type of guy. Terrell Bernard, excuse me, which is why I think the Bills are a spot that he could go, because you have that like history there with those linebackers who are around 6 foot, 6'1", 220, 225 that can fly, cover backs, tight ends, even some slot receivers if need be.
Yeah, I think I would agree with Brendan, but I have Bergeron and Williams as locks, and then I have one of Tucker or Jones getting drafted. So it's
go 3 as well.
I go 3 as well,
right.
but I don't know who that third is yet. It could be Sean. It could be Michael. Again, you guys know how I feel about Michael Jones. I think I just think he is a nugget in a gold mine when it comes to NFL success. And no, he's not your prototypical NFL linebacker, as he considered a little bit undersized. The ferocity he plays with, the leadership that he's able to command a defense, to me is just so impressive. And ultimately, I just see him succeeding wherever he goes. And we'll love to see it happen.
Here's
really
a question
would.
for you, Tommy. With the injury concerns, would you take Michael over Sean?
Yes, just because I don't know.
So
I think I would
are you
answer.
leaning more Michael than
I
Sean?
think I personally, I'm leaning more Michael, but from just like a national perspective, and from these guys getting from Sean,
the name,
and just from what people are saying, I think Sean ends up being the one that gets taken. But if it ends up being 2 of them, I'd be a little bit bummed out. Not the end of the world, but it would be awesome to see all 4. That would just be a special day.
Yeah, no, and it is just so interesting what you said about, like, with Sean Tucker. You're like, because I just don't know. I feel like people fear the unknown, which is why I'm surprised that it is so tight-lit. But as you guys have said, you have to imagine that the scouts and the people who are recruiting him understand the situation here.
But the draft experts clearly don't.
I know.
Which is why there's that lack of communication right there that we've seen time to time, where there's guys that go into the top 10. It's like, wait, where did this guy come from? There's a reason why they're tight-lipped. So this could easily be something where he doesn't get picked, and it was across the board a no-brainer. Or it's one of those where he ends up getting picked in the late 4th round. We truly have no idea.
I will say this feels like a draft where there's not a lot of like superstar players, but there are a lot of really good ones. And that does give me a little bit of hope to where all 4 of these guys could go.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
I do.
like,
I think it's a draft, like you mentioned. I don't think we're going to be looking back at this 5 years from now and be like, that top 10 was crazy. I think it is going to be a draft where it's going to be, this dude was taken in the 3rd round. That's nuts. This guy was 5th round.
Yes.
Now he's a Pro Bowler. It has that energy. The college football season had that energy. So we'll see it. Trivia.
Take a load off real quick, guys. Get a sip of your coffee there as I'm on camera here.
All right.
3 questions, one a little more personal than the other 2. We'll start with question 1. In the common
No, I've
draft,
never killed anyone. Why does everyone always ask me
never committed a felony. You don't check that box off.
Never committed a felony.
In the common draft era, meaning 1994 to present, and for Sam that means the current 7-round format, which round has seen the most former Orange players drafted?
Oh, okay. So 1 through 7. Is this just in general?
This is just in general.
Okay.
So, like, the most Syracuse players to have been drafted in a single round, which round is it? Over the course of the entire period.
Got it. So it's
So,
not like
like,
1 year, 3 guys
So,
got
like,
taken
for
in this round.
example, if, like, 5 rounds get taken, say, like, 5 guys got taken in round 1 over the course of these 20 years, and that was the most, that would be the answer.
Got it. Okay. Just from recent memory, we talked a little bit about this. Ifeatu Melifonwu as well as Andre Sisco both went in the 3rd round in 2021. There's been a few guys over the years in round 7. I think it's 6 or 7. I think it's 6 or 7, just statistically.
Then I'll go round 3.
You're gonna go round 3?
Yeah.
All right. I'll say. Gotta go with my gut. 7.
One of you is right. We'll save it for the end.
Wow.
Bonus question.
Okay.
Orange Zone contributor James Mungrow themed. What round was he drafted in by the Detroit Lions?
4.
Undrafted. Trick question.
Tommy's 2 for 2.
Ugh.
Tommy saw right through that. So
I
yes,
did.
Tommy is 2 for 2 now. Question number 3, which is probably the hardest one. Syracuse has produced 9 first-round NFL draft picks. Since in that common draft era, I should add, which NFL franchise has used the most first-round picks on Syracuse players during that time period?
So it's 9 of them, right?
Yes. You know what?
I think I'm staring right at him.
I'm actually going to make it a little bit harder. 3 teams are tied for this lead. Name all of them.
Colts are 1.
I'm waiting for 3 answers here.
Okay. All right.
Lord.
We'll both take Colts. All right. I'm gonna absorb my other 2, and I believe it would be a tie for 2. Okay.
I mean, you've been on a heater, so I'll let you cook.
Okay. Well, we know there's Donovan, so that's 1 for the Eagles, and I believe they have another one. I believe the Eagles have gotten another guy in the first round. Franny, Marvin Harrison. First round. 9 guys first round. Well, there's Chandler Jones. I believe he was round 1, pick 13. Should have been right to the Patriots. And then there's Justin Pugh, Giants.
The gasp.
Huh. I feel like there's another Giant in there. Maybe David Tyree? All right, let's go Colts, Eagles, Giants. Should we wait for Sam's answers?
Yeah, let's hear Sam's answers.
I'm locking it in with you.
Okay, we're locked in as a team.
All right. The Colts. Marvin Harrison, Dwight Freeney.
Franny.
I
Yes.
applaud you.
Yes.
The Giants. Justin Pugh, not David Tyree. He was a 6th-round
figured,
pick,
I
but
figured.
Will Allen was a first-round
Okay,
pick.
there we go.
The Eagles. Donovan McNabb, and no one else.
Where did McPherson go?
McPherson, as in Don McPherson?
Yeah.
I think he was before that
he was
common era.
He was. Oh, you're right. That was stupid. I was
Now, you were on the right track with team number 3.
Patriots.
Yes.
Dang,
Oh.
dude.
Chandler Jones and Tabucky Jones.
Chandler Jones and Tabucky Jones. What year was that?
I'm struggling to remember off the top of my head.
He was Eagles. McPherson was Eagles.
Oh.
Drafted round 6. But dude, that's been the best trivia day of my life.
That
Yeah.
you were, yeah, you sizzled.
Can I do it? Can I hit it? Can I hit it?
Can you what?
Bang! Bang!
Unbelievable.
You know I'm here.
No, I know you are.
What a
and
big day! I feel great right now.
You know what else is going to be a
I
big
feel
day?
great right now.
Draft day is going to be a big day.
Draft day.
And
I'll be honest. I think Friday's a bigger day for us.
We should let you guys know. We will have an article up on our website that is updating you with picks throughout the weekends.
Yes,
Maybe
yes.
a little slow on Saturday just because I'll be in Hamilton calling softball. But Thursday night, if anything happens, surprisingly, Friday night, when most of this probably happens.
Yep.
And what time does the draft start on Saturday? Is it like 11 to 4?
It normally is like it feels like it's like a late morning or a noon thing.
Yeah, but we'll
Also,
update it when we get to
with
it.
it being out in Casey, it probably is starting at 11. So that's our show, right? No other pieces to this?
No
Unless you
notes.
got anything.
No, I think we're good. Guys, great show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will be back hopefully later this week, maybe with an update for you. Maybe not. At the very least, we'll be back next week to break this all down. Tommy Sladek, Samantha Croston, Brendan Hodges. This is the Orange Zone Podcast. We're out of here. Peace.